So, Robin, Robin, would you like to tell us all about what we're doing and why we're here?
Yes, very briefly. Hi, everybody. So I'm Robin from the University of Bristol. Welcome, welcome. So I lead on shape commercialization at the university, and we have launched about 15 shape ventures over the last couple of years now. And we are a part of Aspect. And so for those of you who are new to the sort of room, Aspect is a consortium of universities. We are focused on shape commercialization. So that's projects that are coming out of disciplines like arts, humanities, and social sciences, and trying to ensure that they have real impact in the world and help sort of sustain them. Um, so this is a kind of evolving webinar series that we've started some time ago, looking at how do we better support projects and give academics and students and other people in support roles tools and resources that can kind of help them to reach their audiences. We are particularly sort of kind of coming into now more around the creative technologies as a way to enable scale.
Mm.
And particularly in a time where our budgets are being reduced, our time is being constrained. And so that's kind of where Lucy and I have come together, and we have kind of helped sort of curate these sessions, and we bring some wonderful people in to help us understand what's kind of going on. And so as part of the Aspect work, you can sign up to get a micro credential. If you look on this, we'll put a link in the chat as well. And so, yeah, so these are things we think are helpful, are interesting, and particularly now when, technology is moving so fast. We've kind of come a long way from where we were about a year and a half ago
We
when we
we were
started.
just saying that, weren't we? So all the previous sessions are on the YouTube channel, so you can see the various chapters, and we've covered things like Canva and podcasting and webinars and websites and video, basically so many different flavors. And we were just saying when we started, nobody was talking about AI. And when we did do a couple of AI sessions, it was very cautious. We were all very, quite rightly, quite wary. And and then we've got this schedule where the practical, it's very practical. That's the whole point of all these sessions as well. There's going to be lots for you to go and do afterwards. That's why we share the videos. There's lots for you to reflect back on. But you've seen the schedule, and we've gone from like, what is it? How do I use it? Where is it applicable to really optimizing its potential? So we have got six absolutely, no pressure here, Jonah, six absolutely amazing facilitators for you, some good brains to rummage in. People who are doing this every day, but as you see, it's all very practical, demonstrating impact, gamification, all the different flavors. But you can get all the previous content as well. But we've put this together based upon feedback, based from the previous cohorts, and from the experience of Robin and the colleagues at Aspect as to what they're being asked for. So that's our role within these projects. So thank you to Aspect for funding this, for allowing these sessions to happen. And so this is a webinar style because we're recording this to be used. So please ask questions in chat. My job as host is to ask your questions to Jonas to what I love about doing things online is you can ask them in the moment. You haven't got to wait and be polite. Just pop them in the chat for me. Tell me what you'd like to hear. And we've got an hour and a half, and we should just cover as much as we can. Jonas has been given background on why we're here and what we're doing. He's got a great sort of lineup for you, but please engage and enjoy. And that's enough of the background. And I'm going to now make Jonas the host, and we can crack on and enjoy looking at the AI landscape, which has changed so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the intro, Lucy. Really, really excited to be here. My name is Jonas. I am a lot of things. I am a researcher, I'm a tech educator, I'm a coach, and a organizational psychologist. I kind of work between a lot of things. Overall, I really like to get people to do their things better, to work together better, to sort of unblock things along the ways. And I spent the last, gosh, I want to say about 20 years just going down a lot of rabbit holes into different technologies. I help people figure out, do I need an app or a website, and what's the difference? Why should I care? Do I need to get on the blockchain? How do you chain the blocks together? What does that even mean? And currently it's all about AI. How might it work for us? How might it work
It
with
is
us?
such a rabbit hole, though. I mean, this is it.
It
I
really
want you to
is.
help us give some clarity of that rabbit hole because you've lost a lot of your life explored, which I love. But most of us don't have time to do that, and we don't know what good looks like.
Exactly. And I think that's what I hope I can sprinkle a little bit in. I've done all the rabbit holes, so hopefully you don't have to. And that's sort of the intention for the next hour and a half to see like how can we use AI without losing hours and hours of time? Because it is very easy to lose a lot of time with AI, even though the promise is the opposite. I have
Mm,
definitely lost weeks of my life to random rabbit holes. So hopefully I can shortcut that a little bit for you.
brilliant.
So before we get, no, actually, let me share my slides. With sound. All right. So the AI landscapes, tool shifts, and how we might deal with sensitive information. That was the brief, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Sort of throughout all of this, I'd love sort of you to hold this in the back of your mind. When we were introduced to AI was always like this chat thing. We go, we ask a question, we get a response, perfect. What if we thought about AI as more like a workshop, like a place you go to do your craft, a place you hone your craft, and a place where you have different tools that you can pick up and put back down? I'm going to leave it at that for now, but please keep that in the back of your mind as we go through, and then see how that might resonate with you as well. Before you go all the way in, I'd love to just get a bit of a feel, like how are we feeling about AI? How are we using it? I think, do I do the poll or do you do the poll?
I think you should have the power.
Polls, quizzes. I'd love you to have a quick answer on this. How are you with AI right now? Are you avoiding it? Are you using it a little bit? Are you like AI native or whatever that means? Or do you just want to have a good debate about it? Like, how do we feel right now?
I love here for the argument as one of the options.
I know. Thank you for the four people that just want to debate. I'm very much up for this. Uh, Lots of drafting, summarizing, some people getting very hands-on, but then also, and I welcome these people that are completely avoiding it, or maybe just kind of like dipping their toes in a little bit. Nice. Great. Nice little bell curve, little perfect. So I think we got pretty much all of you through. Thank you so much. I think in many ways, like I I share all of these sentiments. I feel it's like I am like at times I'm avoiding it, at times I'm really leaning into it, and at times I'm just like just too lazy to do this. Why don't you write my email for me? Fantastic. Thank you. That is, oh, you didn't even see it. Leave that up for a second while we go up.
A nice balance, as you say.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's a hard one to sort of figure out how to use because all we get is that box. It's like ask me anything, but like what could I ask? What should I do? How might I do this? And also, I think something that I find more and more when I do my own research is like sometimes it's like, well, but I like doing it. Why would I give it to AI?
Mm.
Very interesting one. Great. So moving into the content, I split what I want to share into two parts. First part is sort of this idea of AI having grown up. AI, when it first came out in 2022, 23, it was quite rubbish. It was exciting because it was this speaking thing, but it was also just really not good at stuff. And he kept making things up. Like the word hallucinations was thrown about a lot. People got into trouble for not checking what he gave back. Uh, Thankfully, AI has changed a lot, and we're going to look at how it has changed and how we might want to do it. And we're going to return to that idea of AI as a workspace. What does that even mean? And then in the second part, I want to invite you for another sort of mindset shift, this idea of like outsourcing our work to AI to help using AI to help us get our work out. And how might we think about this? How might we collaborate with AI in a way? You all know what you're researching, you know why it's important, you know what you're caring about, you know what you found along the way, and you have a lot of bits of information in your head that AI doesn't have. So how might we work with AI in a way to make sure your intention, your care is still in what AI creates for you? And I've anchored this in a few very hands-on examples with prompts you can copy and steal and take away and use tomorrow. And I hope that sets up well. How do we feel about this? Any chat things? No, not yet. Good. So AI has grown up. I say that because at least when I went back to uni last year, all we had was a very bad version of Copilot, and we weren't even really allowed to use it. And Copilot has had a really bad rap. It has had a really bad go. And in many ways, be it Copilot, be it Claude, be it Gemini, they still are not a lot more than a very fancy text completion engine, right? Like if we're typing it on our phones and the phone says, "Oh, I know the next word you want to say," that is a mini language model. It's not a large language model, but it's a small language model. It keeps predicting the next word over and over and over again. So when we think about this AI, this intelligence, as they want us to think about it, it really still is predictive text, just with a lot more background knowledge. It's read a lot more than the model that you have on your iPhone that finishes your sentences, but it still works pretty much the same way. It completes the sentence based on what it has read before. So the longer our chat gets, the more it has to refer to, the more maybe likely it gets to get the next right step. So while we have this fancy word for it, it still isn't really that fancy. It still is just predicting over and over and over again. So I don't like the word intelligence. I like it more like as a, yeah, it does things, but how intelligent actually is it? So keeping that in mind, particularly when AI first came out, it still felt very much like this. And now it's starting to feel a bit more natural. It's starting to. So what really has changed? One thing that has changed is the models themselves. They've gotten bigger and better. I think one of the key things for me is this idea of reasoning models. You might see in your drop down, you can choose a reasoning mode. That's essentially AI having a conversation with itself, trying to figure out what it should be doing and how it might be doing it. The same way we might sit down and do a little sketch. The AI makes its own little sketch. It has it literally debates with itself. Oh, should I do this or should I do that? And sometimes when you click on the thinking dot things and you read what it thinks about, like it's quite frantic. It's quite unstructured sometimes. And sometimes they're like, oh, actually, no, it's made a really good argument. It's built this really nicely. So there's a bit more transparency in some ways for us to start to understand what it does. And it is getting a lot better at doing the things for us because it does that reasoning. And that could only happen because AI got so much more efficient and so much cheaper. So we can just burn through a lot more tokens, they call it, or words. It just writes a lot more text before it gives us an answer. And then we have other things like Copilot now gets very picky in what kind of AI model it uses behind the scenes. So we just get the same chat box, but behind the scenes, it will pick a different model depending on what it needs to do without us even knowing. If your admin has enabled it and you ask it to make a PowerPoint, it'll go to Claude because Claude is so much better at PowerPoints than ChatGPT is, and so on. So we're starting to see things being built around the pure models that help us do the work better by taking a lot of sort of those headaches away step by step. And at the same time, there's been a bit of a plateau. We're just getting a little bit better now. We're not just making massive jumps anymore. It's just getting a little bit more stable in many ways. And that maybe allows us to get a bit more used to how our AI works as well. And then on the other side, we have this idea of tooling, what's around the model. So you might have played with NotebookLM. That was like sort of one of the first tools that has been built specifically for a use case, specifically for research. Because it references documents very accurately. It can deal with a huge amount of data. We have things like deep research modes that have really matured, that are getting very good at finding the right kind of sources, referencing it correctly, even finding dissonances within different references, and then presenting them to us. It's like, well, I found this, but also found that. Now you make the choice. So a lot more sort of things that happen around. And then last but not least, we have this big line, and there's a lot of buzzwords in there. We're going to get back to them. We have this idea of projects, things where we can have several chats about the same kind of idea or the same task. We have things like agents, where we brief the AI with a piece of work, it goes away, does it on its own, and then comes back. So if you have used deep research, that is an agent. You tell it what you want it to research, it goes away half an hour, does its thing, comes back and gives you a full finalized document. And then we have things coming out of Anthropic, like co-work. Co-work is this idea of the AI sitting on your computer with you and working on the same folders you're working at. So we don't have to go to the chat anymore. It sits and it sees the same things we see, if we want that. It's a little creepy. And then finally, we have this idea of skills. We can, as humans, we're very good at sort of learning things and sort of, like I might learn a new recipe today, I might learn another recipe tomorrow, but then I can make the thing in between as well, because once I made pasta twice, I can make pasta again. I can combine different ingredients. AI needs a bit more strict instructions. So we can, once we have a good recipe for any piece of work, we can encapsulate that into what the internet now calls a skill for AI, and we can teach it how we work specifically. And all of those things are in different levels on different platforms, but by the end of the year, I expect all of the platforms to sort of have found a lot more of sort of the same level of doing things. So skills definitely want to watch out for this idea of co-work, working on your laptop in specific folders to give it access to, want to watch out for. That's all on Claude already, and it's starting to trickle into other ones. It's becoming sort of an industry standard that's open source that people build on. We're going to get back to that in a minute. So these are sort of the big shifts.
I'm not sure about how I feel with sharing my entire computer on that co-work, but as you say, let's see how we go.
It is very much a thing, and it is creepy.
Yeah.
And I had to make the decision that the way I work, I wanted to have access to certain folders. It doesn't have access to everything.
Yeah, the fact that it's editable
I'll
is
be
interesting,
like,
but no, it's good to see where it's going. Yeah.
But it's like, is it good? Is it bad? It's like it's every model maker has a slightly different way of interacting with
And we have a
us,
choice. The key point, as you just made, is
and we
you have a
get to
choice as
pick
to
and
what you share.
choose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the really creepy bit for me comes in when we give AI access to all our emails and all our full calendar. That creeps me out, because then it knows everything about me. It knows what I buy, when I buy it, how I buy it, at what price, what I'm interested in, what other things, which emails I've read, which ones I haven't. Like, that is freaky.
We have to create our boundaries, and there's a really good point here. Choice is
Exactly.
ethics, and I think this is also. I had a workshop this morning that was also around AI, and I think it's all about responsible usage. What do we need it to do in what way? And we have control. The key point with all of this is we have the control on how we use them, which tools we use for what. So
Yeah, and that's a really important point to make. I think throughout, we're kind of force-fed this AI. Use it. It's going to help you, and it can. But I think having that agency and when we use it and how we use it is probably one of the most important things, and we'll be coming back to that later
and which
as well.
tools you use. I mean, again, we talked about this, Rebecca, this morning. It's like, we don't have to use all the tools we're referencing here. There are other tools out there, which you say, the environmental impact, the way they're built, the ethics behind them. I think consumers have gone from, oh, this is all shiny and interesting and new, to actually, what do I want to use and how do I want to use it? That conversation is evolving. Do I want to be giving all my data to certain people? Maybe not. But I say,
definitely.
I hadn't heard of feminist AI, and I think this is where this is evolving now. And this is what, we won't go into all of this today, but I think we've gone from this is amazing and shiny and new to, okay, we're now using it. How do we want to use it? What does it say about us? As we do with all tools, even I was thinking about, fashion, sustainability, it's getting tailored to our priorities now because it's evolved so far. Anyway, sorry, tangents. We're going to always do tangents. Keep going.
Yeah. So throughout all of this, we're getting to a more stable place where the AIs aren't changing under our feet every single day. We can start to make choices that are more informed, and it will come down to all of us individually to make our choices. But maybe also because we are in networks like Aspect, we can start to have a conversation of like, what do we actually feel is ethical, is right? The same way we have ethical frameworks for research, we might want to have ethical frameworks for AI use as well, because we know the big model makers will not give us ethics if we don't ask for them. Great. So moving on, one thing that has not changed is prompting your AI properly is still really hard. It's not something that comes natural. AI thinks differently than us, and I always air quote thinking when I say about AI. It's the way AI process information is not the same we process information, even though it writes almost like us. And I think that's the tricky part. It speaks in English and we speak English. So like, oh, that's fine. We're the same, but we're not really. So it's really about how do we think about interacting with AI? And three things. And for some of you, this might be a repetition. For some of you, this might be new. But I think these three things for me are really key to interacting with AI in any context. Think about who your AI needs to be or pretend to be. If we give our AI a role, it immediately gets better at doing what we want it to do. So do I need my AI to be a fellow researcher in my field? Do I need my AI to be a marketing specialist? Do I need my AI to be a chef specializing in French cuisine? If I give it a specific role, and they can be as simple as 2 or 3 words, act as a, already massively changes what we get back. Then the second thing is giving the AI a clear goal. And this is the most difficult one of all of them. Because when we're working on our own, we can have sort of a fuzzy goal in our head. It's like, yeah, I need to write that thing. And we sort of find things along the way. We might have a lot of scrap notes around the sides, do little bits and combine it. When we work with AI, we sort of have to download all of those thoughts and those fragments into the chat. And if we don't, AI won't know how to work with us. So thankfully, AI cannot read our mind yet. But that means we need to spell it out. We need to be very explicit in what we want. And I know we all get lazy. I do. It's like if I write a one-line prompt, do this thing for me, I always need to fix it. It probably doesn't go
And then we
anywhere. And
get
I might,
frustrated. That's when we have
yeah,
the
and
whole,
we get really
why hasn't it read
angry.
my mind?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you talk to AI though? Do you type this or do you talk it?
I am a big fan of dictation,
Yeah.
and all the AI platforms now have a microphone button. They usually have two buttons. They have the dictation and they have the voice mode. Like one of them opens a new screen and it sort of chats back at you.
I like
Don't
dictation.
don't use that. It tends to use a worse model as well. It tends to be less smart if you have the chatty one.
Okay, that's
Whereas
interesting.
if you do dictation, you can just ramble on, lock yourself in a meeting room, or if you're working from home, even better, just go and ramble for 5-10 minutes. AI does, oh, it tends to cut out after 10 minutes. Careful. Don't ramble on longer than that. I ran into that a couple times the other week and I got really annoyed.
I find dictation is easier for me to sometimes articulate
Yeah, because you can
this
think out
this.
loud, quite
Yes, like you would
literally.
with a colleague, treating it like a colleague.
Yeah.
Cool.
And having that back and forth. And you will always say more than you will type. You will give a lot more detail. So if you can use the little dictation button, please do. There's offline versions as well that are completely privacy safe. If you're on a Mac, it's a really good. It's called Mac Whisper. You pay once, you own it. It does all the newest things. It does fantastic things. So any way you can dictate things, please do. You can take voice notes on your phone, copy paste that into your AI, whichever way works. But just in that case, more is better. If it's about you sharing your own thinking in voice notes, in dictation, absolutely, as much as you possibly can, get it into that
And a
model.
question from Lorraine about does it then record your voice? When I'm using chat, no, it's just typing it up. It's
Yeah,
transcribing me.
it will not steal your voice. It will just take your words and type them out for you.
Yeah.
And it will get some words wrong. In general, that's fine. If it mixes up a couple things, AI will still understand the overall context most of the time. Great. So we gave our AI role, we gave it a clear goal. We used dictation to sort of give it that extra context that we would otherwise be too lazy to type up. Now it's about sort of giving it timely context when it comes to external data. So AI is only ever as good as the sources we give it. And we often might have a reference document. We might have a draft write-up of our research. We might have a a guideline of what kind of language we use in our organization, how we write about our things. We might have brand guidelines. We might have an audience profile, like a persona that we want to speak to. So many things. Give AI the right thing at the right time. We could add all of those things at the same time, put it at the top of the chat, and they were like, great, let's work on this thing. It can really overwhelm AI the same way if somebody came in and gave you a big binder with like loads and loads of documents and say, hey, this is what we're working on, figure it out. You might get a bit confused too. It's like, oh, where did I start? Like,
I'd need more guidance than that, absolutely. We've got another question from Tara about an offline version for non-Mac users. This is the transcription. You
yeah,
mentioned a Mac version. How about because I'm not a Mac user either. So how about us non-Mac people? What have you heard any tools that they
I
can
have
use?
no idea, but I can figure that out maybe in the break or in the end and follow up with that.
Cool. And does AI have access to journal papers, or do we need to upload papers? SciSpace has
Yeah,
research
so
papers, so there are
journal
different tools for
papers,
that.
yeah. So there's interesting things around papers. AI is very good at finding the paper based on the public listings. Like it'll find the abstracts and then be like, oh, this might be interesting, that might be interesting. It generally does not have access to the PDF. Unless the PDF is accessible on Google Scholar, then it probably does. So if it's behind a paywall, you might have to download it and upload
You've
it.
got Google Scholar and SciSpace, haven't you? So again,
Mm.
I would probably curate it and give it the papers you want it to be reviewing rather than ask it to find papers. That's that maybe that quality control.
It can go both ways. So like I've
Yeah.
often used it to do to surface a reading list for me. It's like
Okay.
this is where I want to go. This is sort of my key intent. Now go and find me the best papers I should reference from the last 2 years.
Cool.
And it'll go and give me a short list, and two-thirds are really good, and then one third is like, where did you find that? What even is that? But that's again, it's our part of discernment at the end that we sort of layer on top. If we that's one thing, and then the other one is sort of working with papers or maybe digesting it. So maybe I have found my reading list, half with deep research, half through my own research on EBSCO or SciSpace or whatever it might be. And then I'm like, great. So like, how do I prioritize? Which one do I actually read first? I might give it my top five and be like, great, rank these in order. Which ones should I read first to make sure I can form my argument the way I want to?
As Magda said, I mean, it's terrible at finding information in scientific context and making up things. It's always going to need us. It's always going to need us to check our sources, confirm the references, make sure the
Yeah,
data
it's
is
not a
accurate.
replacement for us reading anything. Like, please
No.
still read the paper. An AI summary is not as good as you reading the paper. However, if you're pressed on time, give the paper to NotebookLM, do an audio overview, listen to it on your commute. It'll give you enough to have an idea if it's worth going back to actually reading it after.
And thank you, Alexis, for Elicit. I've not heard of Elicit.com. We always like a bit of a hive mind of tools you've been using as well. So thank you. And there's a question about free versions of subscriptions. The University of Bristol question, I will pass you back to Robin on that one. And your institution's position on use of AI, I will refer you back to your institution to answer that question. That's not something that we on this call can support you with. Each institution will have their own perspective. Generally, Jonas, I think a paid version is normally the more secure version.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to, I think, most of these things in just a minute. Yeah.
So we shall go. We'll let you do that then. So Zena, we're going to come to your question through the next piece.
Yeah, I think it might even be the next slide. Let's see. Yeah, basically, just to reframe before we go into free versions, AI is more than a window. Think about you do a piece of work, and it really is just a subtask. You do one step. You get AI to create a document, you save it out, you start a new chat, you do the next step. So it's not about spending a whole day into the same chat and going down the rabbit hole. It's about like being very intentional about what do I want to do with AI now, getting it done, stopping it, saving something, maybe reading it again, doing your edits, then starting the next little chat. So breaking out of the little chat box, I think, is a really big thing, because you might have noticed once your chats get really long, they get really confused. And that is just how AI thinks. If it's getting too long, it gets really fluffy, and then it just loses its intelligence, if you want to call it that. So this key shift if you think about AI as a chat, it's a single conversation. It starts cold every time. We have to remember to do all those things. Give it a role, be very precise at describing the goal, give it any kind of context that we want. And as soon as the chat is done, it forgets everything and we need to start from scratch again the next time we start a new chat. So we want to stay in that chat. If you think about AI as a workspace, and I'm going to be using the word project for now, we can sort of give it a little project folder to work in, right? And each project, they have knowledge, reference documents. That might be papers we're referring to, that might be tone of voice guides, that might be audience research, raw data, whatever else. And we can give it a system prompt. So that's sort of like the start of the conversation. These things that you might have to type out every single time if you do chat only. So this is your role. You're my co-researcher. I want you to not tell me what to do. I just want you to critique me and help me get a better argument, for example. So we don't have to type it out every single time. We just start a new chat within the project, and we sort of save ourselves from being lazy in instructing the AI how to work. So that's sort of the first shift I want to think about. And chats then is that way of entering our workspace. We have different corners set up for different pieces of work, different projects in our AI platform to do different kinds of work, and we can choose where we want to go depending on what we want to do. That was sort of to wrap up that sort of intro bit. Projects are very confusing. It has different name on every platform. Gemini calls them gems. Claude calls them projects. ChatGPT calls them both custom GPTs and projects, and they're ever so slightly different depending on which name you pick. Copilot calls them agents, agents is something completely different in every other platform. So they're all a bit confused, but they all have the same idea. And the idea being, you give this thing a name. This is Gemini now. And description, that's just for humans. You write down your prompt, the part of the prompt that's repeatable. So if this is the context of what kind of work are we doing and how would I like you to do the work with me? And then we can upload any reference documents that we want. And then once we start again, we don't have to. So this one I made for audience research, because I keep doing that again. What is a good audience report? What's a good persona of who I'm talking to? I had to think through that once. And now every time I'm doing a new piece of communication, I can return to this. If we look at Copilot, it looks a little bit different. So this one is called agents. If you click on this sidebar in the side, there should be a thing that says new agent. If you click on that, you get a preview. They just flip it left and right. So you get the preview of the left, what that agent chat might look like. And on the right side, you have your info box. Again, you give it a name and a description. That's for you, so you can find it again. That's kind of like which corner of my workshop is this thing. And then the same thing, you got your instructions, your system prompt. This is the context you're giving your AI. Within Copilot, you can now also link to different OneDrive files. You can upload your own files. You can link websites, give it different kinds of context that it needs to do the work well. And what's really nice about these projects, agents, gems, is we can throw quite a lot of information at it, and it will search for which parts of all of those documents are actually needed when we do the work. Whereas if you just throw all the documents at it as a simple chat, it gets really overwhelmed really, really quickly. So that is what I mean when I say project in this context. Now, be really promiscuous with projects. Think of it as a bag for life. You forget your bag, you get a new bag for life. It comes home with you, it gathers dust in a corner until you go to a picnic and need a bag, and then maybe you will reuse it again. With the plastic bags, please do recycle them. With AI projects, you can be very, like there are disposable, and like think of them as a disposable thing. Even if you make a gem and a Copilot agent once, you use it once and then never again, you've probably already done something great. Like it's already helped you. If you use it twice or three times, it's already paid for itself. So every time you do a new thing, you probably are going to start a new project. If you do something with a lot of resources, a lot of references, definitely make a project. You can upload all the files. It'll go and pick on the right ones at the right time and help you do your work better. And particularly if you're repeating yourself, if you see, oh, I'm doing this thing again, I'm doing this thing again, and you're trying to find the chat somewhere where you did something similar, definitely make that a new chat. You can repeat that, a new project, so you don't have to repeat the prompt every single time. And we're going to look at how that works in part 2, hands-on. And now, as promised, the free plan and the pay plan. So free is really not free when you think about AI. Free plans are used for the AI makers to gather new data to train the next model. So every time you sign up for any free plan, anything you put into that AI will be used to train the next version of the same model. And that might mean somebody else gets your thinking and your data by just asking for it, or even by asking for something similar. In 2023, when ChatGPT came out and people figured out they could write code with it, Samsung workers used a lot of ChatGPT to build a new feature, and they accidentally leaked a whole code base of not yet trademarked technology that now is not ownable anymore because it's in the public domain, because anybody on ChatGPT can sort of ask for it. And if you know how to ask for it, you can literally get the full files back out. So it's kind of freaky in a way, but it's yeah, like those model makers have to make money somehow, and this is how they make better models, by getting more data. They've hoovered up pretty much anything they can in public databases and on the internet. Now it's about new stuff, and human content is the most priced content because it's like real. It gives the model a better understanding. So they're very, very hungry. What does that mean for us? Free is not necessarily bad, but I think about using free plans when it's about shared data. I think that's already in the public. Say you want to find existing literature. Perfectly fine to do that on a free plan. Like I use Gemini a lot for this, because it's got Google Scholar in the back and it finds things quite easily. And I wouldn't think twice like doing that on a free plan because that's all public. It's out there. To like help me speed read something, get a first overview before I dive in, really good as well. Or maybe the other way around, oof, I think I've read it in this paper. I really want to find the quote again so I can refer to it. Give your free plan the paper, say, this is what I want to say, point me to the right page. It will do that very happily. That's a good thing for free plans as well. Basic admin, like redrafting emails, if there's nothing too sensitive in it, definitely as well. Or just like quick explainers, getting a big of an idea of like, ooh, this concept, that concept, how has so-and-so thought about this problem before? Totally fine. Again, shared data, anything in a public domain, free plan. I would heavily suggest you go on a pay plan as soon as it's about your own work and your own data, and particularly other people's data. So when it's about building your own argument, when it's about anything pre-publication that you might want to own, any sensitive participant data, interview transcripts, particularly anything with PII, please only ever use a paid plan because you will be breaking all the ethics and NDAs that you possibly signed up anywhere. It's not worth getting into that trouble, and you kind of want to keep that in your own.
And there was a question about opting out of the data for AI models, and on paid you can't you? That you can.
Yeah. So it used to be that paid models are automatically opted out. Now they're still opted in. You still have to go into the settings, and each platform will call it something differently. It's usually phrased something like, make the model better for other people. That means I'm giving you my data freely. So do not make the model better for other people. You are very, you're not sharing in this context. You're not nice to other people. You really want to keep your own. So do toggle that off.
And if we have Copilot as a university, for example, is that a closed loop? Is that information staying within?
Yeah, so as soon as you're on any enterprise plan, so university plans will definitely be closed loop. They wouldn't be able to get through getting that approved without getting it ring-fenced. Some of them would even have their own sort of isolated servers, go as far as that. So it's properly within your own. Otherwise, which other maybe smaller organizations might get a promise from Microsoft that the data is not going to leave their own organization. But as soon as you have anything that says enterprise on your plan, like particularly if you get it through an academic institution, like you are in a closed loop system.
But if in doubt, there's been a whole conversation going on in the chat here. If in doubt, check with your institution. Make sure that you're working within the guidelines that you have.
Yeah, I'll definitely double check. It's very worth having a conversation. Often institutions are still figuring it out as well. So it's worth having that conversation. You might know more than they do, but at least they know what kind of policy they have in place at this time. And it's definitely worth having that conversation.
Yeah, if in doubt, check, definitely.
Definitely. Great. And then I've hinted at this as well. So we got things to look out for by the end of the year. These are not things you have to be working with right now, but this idea of co-work, giving AI specific access to specific folders so it can work with you on a document, changes completely, or for me, changed completely how I interact with it. I delegate less, I do more myself now, and it thinks better for me. And the other one, this idea of skills, encapsulating specific processes, and that can include instructions for the LLM, that can include like code. If you work a lot with data, you can use whole programs. You can throw your Python scripts at it, so it can do the data analysis for you in the way you want it to do, rather than just making things up along the way. So it becomes a lot more powerful when you have sort of portable bits. You sort of give the AI the tool, or you teach it how to do very specific things. And that's something that we're going to be seeing more of over the next few months as well. So that's how AI has grown up. I think we probably should have a break here before we run straight into the next questions, comments. How are we
Well, we'll see if we
feeling
have any
about this?
questions. We'll keep going. We don't tend to have a sort of a formal coffee break, but we can just ask us any questions from that first part.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of questions around using it in the right way, and I think that's always the place to start. I remember at the beginning where everyone was just very enthusiastically popping everything in and seeing what it could do. I think we've learned a lot over that period.
Fantastic.
And we will
Great.
share the QR code at the end. I shall get that link and pop it in the chat for you.
Great.
Cool. Part two.
So looking at how we can actually do this, like I've talked a lot, I really want to give you a few things you might be able to take away and do tomorrow, next week. So when it's about, and I've sort of focused this on communicating your findings with a general audience, with people that you want to get buy-in from, funders, and so on. There might be different ways. This translates to different things, but the exercises are all about communicating our research. And to do that, I want to do a 2-minute detour into my own dissertation, my own research that I wrote last year and have rewritten for publication this year. And because at uni, I was not allowed to use AI, I then got to play around with what does it mean to use AI to do it for publication a little bit. I researched how knowledge workers use AI or interact with AI and how that feels, what that does to them, and also how that changes organizational dynamics. And sort of one of the key things that came out of it is we were taught this story that AI is just a tool. You tell it what you want, it does the work, you're done. It's so easy. It just makes you so efficient. You're so much faster at doing everything. And this is like it's kind of a lazy frame. It's also a very good frame for the people making those models and selling those models. But it also is why a lot of AI outputs feel really generic and why you might feel a little bit uneasy when you're using it. And through my research, I found out why that might be. So when we look at this idea of AI as a tool, the tool promises efficiency. It makes you so much faster. It does everything so good. You don't even have to do it anymore. You just need to tell it the next thing to do. So one of my research participants said, it's amazing. This 100% task now became a 10% task. I just need to type out what I want and I get it back. And if you do that over and over and over again, there has been research that has shown like we literally forget how to do the things that we're delegating to AI. So this idea, one of my participants said, is like, I used to be really good at taking meeting notes and summarizing things. And I literally don't know how to do it anymore. I need ChatGPT to do it for me now. And there's been really interesting research showing that if we delegate too much, we get very dependent and we actually lose not only the joy, but also the ability to do the thing that we did before.
There's a whole
Lucy.
study on this with Google Maps. The
Mm,
fact that it's so good for our brain to work out where we're going, to remember the
yeah,
route, to think about, I've got to go left at that on the B36 or whatever. It's so good for our brain to do that. So just following a map, very similar to
yeah,
this,
exactly. And it's the
it's
same with thinking
we need
about
to exercise
stuff.
those muscles, don't we?
Yeah. And particularly when it
The
comes to
active listening.
research.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
active listening, as you said, if you're in a meeting, you're actively listening. So it's yeah, I think it's quite good to have a balanced view of how we use these things.
It's really about being like for me, the way I came to phrase it lately is it's about being present. Am I actually in the room where the work happens? And AI is very good at sort of distancing ourselves from that room, from the work. It almost like it I can be anywhere and have AI do things for me. Whereas if I'm actually with the material, I'm in the thing, I'm with the people, something very different happens.
I like Robin that brain Wayne rather the brain plasticity. We can train it back, but I think it's really important for us to know that it needs it. So there's a gentleman called Jim Morrison who did a talk at Bath District Festival, and it was all about that the Google Maps, and he uses AI, but again, it's that using it in the right way for the right tools because
Mm.
we still need to be exercising our brain.
Yeah, I think of AI a little bit, like on the old school, AI is just a tool frame. Uh, one of the stories we often use is like, like it's a little bit like a bicycle, what was that Steve Jobs quote? It's like the computer's a bicycle for the mind. And it was like it helped us do things faster and better and maybe go farther. And now we have AI, and AI is kind of like the line bike. Like we don't really have to do much anymore. Like maybe we steer a little bit, but it's a bit clunky. It does like it's a bit heavy to steer. It's loud, it's annoying, and it literally makes us lose the muscles that a normal bicycle would actually help us get. So it doesn't exercise us the same way. And with AI, it's a little bit the same. We still want to be able to do some of the things ourselves. So that one thing I found, and this was almost surprising actually, my research was that people have quite clear ways of thinking about how they might still use AI to exercise and get better at doing things. And that's a what I call like a relational engagement. People start to build a relationship, not in a I'm trusting you, do everything for me, you're my boyfriend, but in a how might I relate to this thing to when I'm working through things. And that kind of has two poles, the nurturing pole, the teacher, as I called it, like somebody to help me learn new things. I want to learn how to do X. For me, it was like, teach me how to do IPA. I was like, I didn't really know how that worked, and there's not a lot of documentation, so I had a back and forth. Like it became my tutor in a way, but I still had to do the work of the analysis myself. But having it sort of as my sidekick to be like, oh no, you can do this. Let's break it down. Let's look at the next step. How might that look? How have other people done this? Can actually be really helpful. And I had one of my research participants was a grad in an insurance company, fresh out of uni, uh, and he built this really complex thing in the technology he's never touched before. And he's like, well, YouTube and Gemini, it's the only things you need these days to teach yourself a new skill. And he is now an AI champion, has made several steps up in the organization within a year because he used the AI as a teacher, not just as an outsourcing partner. And then on the other side, we had this idea of a sparring partner, somebody to really challenge you, or something to really challenge you, to really start to work with you. Like, what haven't I asked yet? What haven't I thought of? Like, what are my blind spots? And this, again, has come from a participant that very deeply engages with AI, that spends a lot of time in AI chats, but uses it in this, like, not do the work for me, but like make me work harder kind of way. And I think if we go from this simple utilitarian point of view of like, oh, I'm just going to give you the work to not actually like make me think through this, help me understand, help me see the things I haven't seen yet, we can get a lot more out of
And you
AI.
need to train it to think like that as well. You need, again, all those prompts, all that work you're doing is you need to make AI do that because historically, Joyanne, who's doing a session later in the series, AI is a puppy, it wants to please
Mm,
you.
It
sometimes
does. It
by
really wants to please you. I mean, it's like, oh,
sometimes
this
by
is
giving you the wrong
gold.
information. Yeah, it give you the wrong information because it's what you think you want to hear. So you've got to
Yeah.
train it like you would an intern. If we think about it as, a colleague, is used to that big pile of folders that would confuse anybody. But if it has the right brief, if it has what good looks like, if it has all the things you need to
Mm.
have thought about before you ask the
Yeah.
question, it will give you that challenge. And settings, they all have settings around the character you're going to give it. You are creating the person. It's not a person, the AI you're talking to, can't you?
Definitely. Also, and this is not on the slide, but like one of the best things I've done is, especially when I'm trying to figure something out, I ask it to say what already works and then find one thing where I'm missing the point or where where it can challenge me.
Yeah.
And so it gets to please me, but it gets to please me in a way that
But
is
you,
useful
but
for
you have
me.
a debate.
It's
I mean,
like
it's quite
great,
funny.
and then
Yeah.
here you can go a little bit deeper, and then
Yep.
like making it make you think is literally the best thing you can do.
Oh, but I love having a debate with it. It's like, what have I missed? And then, well, that doesn't work. Well, that sounds really cheesy. Oh, but it's good because it just helps you work it through as you would when you've
Yeah.
got a colleague.
Exactly. So, how might we apply this? This was my research. It's all about your research now. Just to summarize, the tool gives you speed. If you just need to get something out, sometimes that's good enough. The teacher helps you build new skills. And you can just ask, help me learn about X, help me learn about Y. Uh, and AI as a sparring partner gives you depth. If it's really about going and doing the deep work, it's not about outsourcing it. It's really about having it work with you to make you think. And sort of you might give it different names. Those were the names or the titles I gave it in my dissertation. But this idea of engaging in different ways and not one of those modes is not worse than the other. It's about what you need in which moment. I think that's a really important one. It's not the tool is always ever bad. Some things you just want the machine to do because it's really boring. And some things you want to keep yourself and sort of getting better at sort of picking that. So just to kind of like condense it in, AI can draft a message for you. What it is not able to do is hold your stake in why it matters. You chose your research because you're really interested in something, because there's an ethical point of view, there is something that you've seen that other people have not seen yet. That is your point to get across, and AI will model it up. So you still have to own that part. You have to own the stakes, the human bits, the squishy bits, the bits, the why is this important? And it will, even with a good brief or a good prompt, it'll probably not hold the same kind of like gravitas or importance on these things than you do. So getting hands on now. I hope all my tabs still work. We're going to see how we might go through a little process to help you take a bit of research you've done and start to communicate it to the world out there. And I want to take you through 3 steps. First, it's about expressing it. What are you actually trying to say? And who are you talking to? Like sort of doing that download of like give me the clear goal. But how might we work with AI to do that better? Then the second one, how do we translate? How do we take our deep academic research and then translate it to the audience we're trying to reach? How might AI be able to help us with that? And then last but not least, making it tangible, playing with a bit more of the sort of fun, cutting edgy kind of parts of AI. How might we use AI to sort of go and see things, sort of rapid prototyping, make something visible so we know where to steer the project next. And if you just take one thing away from this webinar, I think for me it's this one. You do not have to write all your prompts yourself. You can have AI work with you to help you download the things you need to say. So when we think about the setting the goal, and we have to write this prompt, it's like, oh my God, act as this, do that. I keep in mind, it can be really overwhelming. Like we don't really do that day to day. So what if we ask AI to work with us and be a very curious intern that rather than just sitting there nodding, asks all the stupid questions? Wouldn't that be great? The intern might not do it. The AI will do it if you ask it to. So a prompt I might steal, and I made a not very pretty, but I made a handout I can throw in this chat later with these, so you don't have to screenshot everything. I might ask AI to be an experienced science communicator who specializes in making complex research accessible to non-academic audiences. I'm exploring how to share my research with this audience. And then, of course, you would fill in the blanks. Interview me one question at a time to help me express what I want what I most want them to take away and to sharpen the story for that audience. Don't summarize, just keep asking until the message is clear. And again, this is quite a big piece of prompt. You could have it somewhere saved in a random file, but if you just change that middle sentence a tiny bit and make it a project, a gem, a file, a Copilot agent, it becomes repeatable. So I would say I'm exploring how to share my research. First, establish the research findings. I'm looking to communicate and the audience I'm targeting, then interview me. It's the same prompt, slight reframe. It instantly becomes reusable. We can throw it at a project, and we every time we start a new piece, a blog, a LinkedIn post, whatever it might be, we can start with the interview me. Who am I talking to? Which part of my research am I communicating right now? Why is it important? What do they need to know? And in like 3, 4, 5 back and forths, we might get a lot better idea of what that might look like. So I've done that with my research. I just threw the full write-up at, this was Gemini, literally pasted that same prompt that I just read out. And then it started to be like, it reads the paper and picks out certain things. And it didn't.
Don't you love that first response? That's so AI. This is a goldmine of a paper. It starts cheesy. You've got to trade it
Yeah.
back in now, haven't you?
And it always does that.
It
And
does.
it will not stop, no
It
matter
has to
what
tell
you
you
tell
you're
it.
great.
Also, I didn't train my Gemini. I'm a Claude guy, full and full. So Claude does less of that. But even with all the prompting and all of everything, it will still say, "Ooh, this is brilliant. This is gold. This changes everything." Like you cannot get it out of the AI. But
Yeah,
then what it does after the fact, it asked me a really good question,
it is a
right?
good
Like
question. Yeah.
what single sentence do you want them to take away? And then I had to say that none of my answers were new. That was all in the paper, but sort of me having to zoom in and be like, oh, yeah, what is it actually? And then it keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper. And once it had, I think we went through 6 or 7 questions, oh, 8 even, then it wrote me a nice little summary. Great. So now we have established why you want to communicate this research to this audience, what is in it for them, why it matters, and so on. And it's all come from me. This is not AI making it up. This is me saying it. And I have used dictation throughout. So there's a lot of typos in my little answers up here, but it will have cleaned that up. It has the context because it's read my full paper, and it now generated me a nice little summary document. And this is in line. If you don't like it like this, you can always ask it to make it into a document. It'll make you, well, Gemini makes a Google Doc, Copilot makes a Word doc, Claude tends to make Word docs. Sometimes ask for a markdown file. You don't have to know how to read it. It's just a text file, but AI loves a good markdown file. It's a lot easier for AI to work with it. So it's good to download those things. Now, this is your next piece that you take into the next step. So you've now done really defined the goal really well, but you've done it in a way that was a lot less painful. So rather than me having to sit down and think about, oh, how do I explain what I want to AI, AI sort of pulled it out of me.
There's someone asked about how you have a structured way to store your prompts. Obviously, this is a lovely prompt. Do you have like a set of prompts you store somewhere, or do you have them in projects?
Yeah, so 2 answers. Personally, because I'm a Claude guy, all my prompts are skills. So once I've done something really well, and this works outside of Claude as well, once you've done a really good conversation, and it's like, oh, we worked together really well here. This was a good cadence, and we got somewhere. You made me think. I got what I need now. Ask it to analyze the conversation, see what went well, what didn't go well, and then write a reusable prompt I can use again next time I want to do the same thing. And then define what same thing means, because it might pick up anything from the chat. So you say, I want to look at how we got from A to B, and then write me a prompt how I can do this. With Claude, I would ask it to make me a skill. The skill, then Claude will automatically pick that up every time I do the same thing again. It sort of has a little note. Ooh, next time you want to get to a quick sketch of your takeaways, this is how you do it. If you're on any other platform, just ask it to write a system prompt for a Gemini Gem for a Copilot agent. It'll do the same thing. You throw that in your Copilot agent, and then you just go in, work with the express my communication goals agent, and then you go into the chat without having to remember where you might have stored that prompt. Great. So now we have defined what we're communicating, and it was a lot easier than us trying to sit down and write a one-page spec ourselves. Now we want to see how we might actually write the piece. And for that, often, at least I don't really know the people I'm talking to that well, particularly when it's about selling my research or like getting people bought in from external. So I kind of need to figure out how to speak to those people. So using AI as a synthetic audience to just try and test a few things. Again, this is not perfect. Still talk to actual humans, please. But it can sort of shortcut the process a little bit. So what I might do, and there's a long version of this prompt in the handout that I made. I might ask AI to deep research my audience, right? You're a science communication strategist who understands how non-experts process evidence, research how my audience thinks about my topic. I'm interested in real insights, not a deficit model assumption that they just need the facts explained. Research how this audience actually speaks, look at forums, professional bodies, LinkedIn, subreddits, skeptic spaces, not just the trusted sources. Go deep, find their actual words, and then write back what they already believe, what's at stake for them, who they trust, and then write it up a certain way. There's a longer version with a bit more context that you can reuse. What we do with that is we simply go to Copilot keeps losing my it keeps deleting the tabs. It's really annoying. Great. You put it into, let's just start a new chat. Put a new chat, put that thing in here. Make sure you go on your little plus and you enable researcher. If you're in Copilot, in other models, this is called deep research. But you can give it the exact prompt, turn the research on. It will then go away and spend probably about 20 minutes researching the internet, seeing how do people actually speak about these things, and write you a nice summary report. And now we have something to refer to. Obviously, you can read it, and I would hope you do read it, even though it tends to be a bit long. So I think especially with, definitely with Copilot, I think also with Gemini, you get to choose how long you want the report to be. Sometimes short is better. So you can actually read it in time. And that is now grounding our communication in actual voices of the people we're trying to reach. So when we're starting to write things, we can double check. It's like, oh, they really don't like if I speak this way, so I might have a different word choice. So I was looking at how HR leaders and L&D leaders think about AI adoption, and I think one of the worst things you can say is like, like it changes everything. It's transformative. It's big things. Like whereas like what they do want to hear is more like, what's the human side? How do we keep things fair and whatnot? So I now have a better steer on how I might be thinking about communicating my work. So we use our deep research, get our audience insight. Once we have that, we can start to test our own draft. And I assume you probably used a little bit of AI to write your draft. Please, at least in my experience, I still had to write the sentences myself at the end of the day. It can do a quick draft, but it gets very repetitive. It feels a bit hollow often. And that is just because AI processes information differently. It's always referring to a lot of things at the same time. So you will have very similar sentences sort of throughout the whole thing. Whereas if we sit down and explain it to somebody we work with, or we write a sentence ourselves, we get a lot more selective in what we actually share. That's why AI text is often twice as long as human text, or at least twice as long as it needs to be. So I assume you still written most of the copy yourself. I would hope you do. But then once you have done that, you can work with the AI to help you critique the piece you've done. And I've done this. Again, here's a prompt. I'll put that in the handout as well. You're a time poor policy advisor, local paper journalist, potential funder, whatever, without background in my field. I'll share a write-up of my research and an audience description. So we have two files now. We got the audience description our deep research agent just made, and we got the actual write-up of our research that we're trying to get to that audience. So this is not your research paper, this is your communications paper now. Please read it and then react as my persona. What's the one thing you would take away? What would you actually repeat to a colleague? Where did you get lost or stop caring? And what would make you act on this? By all means, change the bullet points to what's actually important for you. I did that with a blog post that I did last year while I was still in MSc headspace. There were a lot of references, a lot of footnotes, a lot of complicated things, but the main takeaway was really that AI is about relationships, and we need to think about how we relate to technology and each other in the context, and that is all about small things, empowering managers and so on. But you will see it's deceivingly long. So it has read it, gave me nice little summary, like this is good, this is what I'm taking away, I get that. These are the things I would actually say in my own words after reading your article. And then it ripped me a new one, talking about all the things where I've overshot, where I added way too much, where it was really complicated, where I used the wrong language because it now has that audience research and how those people talk, where I lost people, or where I definitely lost people, even though this was synthetic and the real people were humans. Not a lot of people got back to me after that article. The ones that did were the ones that pushed through and spent 20 minutes reading a very academic paper. The ones that didn't were probably the ones that I lost because of these points. And then it gave me a very actionable next step. It's like, well, you just need to show them what they can do in their day-to-day in this context for my audience, and gave me a couple hints on how I might start to look at doing that. So suddenly I went from having a written something in isolation to thinking about what do I actually want to say, who do I want to say it to, and how might they relate to the thing I already wrote. And now I can
The
start to
amount
go
of
back into it.
times you have to think in your whether you're applying for a grant or trying to engage with somebody, you've got to put yourself into their shoes. When I've had the amount of
Definitely,
people,
yeah.
and I've been a grant reviewer, and people are just talking at you. They're not going, "Hello, Kat." They're not going, "Hey, I understand." Like the HR director, they're really busy. They want that practical application. They want the thing that's going to make a difference to their organization. So you talking at them and telling them how clever you are and how much research you've done is not going to engage them.
Mm.
But people really fail to do that because you're so close to your and so passionate about your research. But you've got to build that bridge. There's a really expansive question in the chat for you around purchasing, subscribing to all those major models, all the models you've got open right now. Given that most people probably just stick to one platform, can you recommend which platform is best in Victoria? I very much appreciate you putting best in, least hallucinogenic,
Yeah.
more intelligent, more analytical, therefore useful. And there's two sides to this, because a lot of us working for universities, there's the one we have to use because that's what the
Mm.
universities subscribe to. So there is also an angle there of what you'd put into it if you were subscribing to one yourself. Claude is
Yeah.
getting a
I
lot of
mean,
love right now. What would you say is the most versatile tool?
yeah. So there's two answers. The best platform is the platform we have paid for. Uh, for like earlier reasons. Also, the best platform is the one that you get used to, the one where you
Okay.
sort of build your own way. So if you have a whole array of fantastic agents in Copilot, that is your best platform, right? Personally, and I always caveat that I'm not sponsored, but I am a huge Claude fan. I tend to avoid all the other platforms. I haven't touched ChatGPT in about 2 years, unless I absolutely had to. Uh, and that is mainly because Claude or Anthropic has been thinking about how do we collaborate with AI a lot more than the other model makers. The other model makers, and OpenAI is probably the worst in that. They just think about how to get you stuck and spend more time on ChatGPT. Gemini tries to think about how they can gather as much data from you as possible. If you use the newer versions of Gemini that integrate with your phone and with your emails, there's no opt-out. You will be training the next model. So there's a lot of like
So if we
weird.
have Copilot, and not everyone has research as an option. I've seen in the chat as well. If this is what we've got, I think the key point from what I'm taking from this is that how do we really use it? As you said, all the different tools you used, all the projects and
Yeah.
the skills, and how do we optimize the option we have? Because
Yeah.
our best use of it will help it be less hallucinogenic, more intelligent. It's our
Yeah.
training of it.
It's if Copilot is the one you have access to and it's the one that's paid, Copilot is very good. It does all the things. It's got the leading models. It's got the best ChatGPT models under the hood. It's very safe. Particularly Copilot is very, very safe in how they guard the data, because Microsoft and all the sort of big corporate security things around on top of that. Some organizations will also have access to Claude models within Copilot, so you get a bit of the best of both worlds. Some don't, but either way, like I think in many ways it's about getting to know the model as well and starting to sort of find out, oh yeah, it always says that. I can ignore this, like this is a gold mine. Like once you work with the same model for a little while, and yes, they get updates, but they tend to have similar personalities, as long as they're from the same family. You get to work a lot better, and you start to figure out where you need to add extra context, where you don't. You start to build your library of agents, projects, whatever you want to call them. And I think that is for me, it's like starting to have repeatable workflows. And that literally, like if the only thing you do this year is build yourself a dozen agents in Copilot that do one specific thing that you do a lot that helps you sort of spend more time on the work you actually want to be doing, you've already mastered AI for 2026. You do not have to go and jump onto the latest and greatest.
Thank you.
If you want to have a taste of the cutting edge, do sign up for a private Claude subscription for your £20. Have a little play, maybe build yourself a skill, maybe play around with co-work if that feels ethically fine. That is sort of like the next edge, but you are completely fine without it. Yeah. Great. So last step, we've defined what we want to communicate. We've researched who we're communicating it to. We've tested our insights. Now it's about sort of like going out there and seeing how might we give a bit of shape to it. And one thing I like, and this is sort of similar to the critique I just showed, is if you're overwhelmed by the walls of text, and I know I am, have NotebookLM debate your piece of work. So what I might do is if I pop into NotebookLM,
I remember the first time I had a play in here, it blew my mind of how quickly it can create this content.
Yeah. So I've uploaded two things. I uploaded my dissertation and a piece of work that I'm working on how I want to commercialize it. And then the key here is when you do your audio, any of the interactive things on the side, if you click on the little pop-out panel there, you always want to click on the little arrow. Then you get to customize what you want it to do or how you would like it. Like it does all the things, it does the slide decks, the videos, the audios, the mind
and the
maps.
key thing is only looking at what you've put in it. This is a closed room. So
yeah.
the data you've put in it, it's all it's looking at. It's not going to go out and find other things to complement.
So it only refers your own information that you upload here on the left. And you can sort of untick things that you want to be working with at any given time. And then I really like these studio things that they gave you, just like as a different lens on the same information. And something I've been leaning into a lot is the audio overview. It feels like the most refined. A lot of the other ones are quite gimmicky, but I really like the audio overview, particularly once you start to customize it. So by default, it does this deep dive thing. It just looks at the sources you've given it. It tries to find sort of a through line, particularly if you have several academic papers. It tries to compare and contrast them sometimes. Uh, if you have more than three sources, it gets confused and it just picks three random ones. Uh, but then if it's about communicating your own research, like the debate or the critique are really, really powerful. So I've had one where I ask it to take on two different characters, an academic and a HR leader, and how they might look at my thoughts and my findings from those two different perspectives. And they went at it and they went at each other quite, I don't want to say aggressively, but like it gave me a lot of food for thought. It's like, oh yeah, that's a really valid point. Like I haven't actually even taken that into account just by giving it like a two-liner, debate this as X and Y. Suddenly I get sort of like the same version of like the audience research, but in an easier digestible format. I can pop that on. If you go on short, it's probably about 10 minutes. If it's default, it's probably more about 20 minutes. You can pop it in your ears, go for a walk, take it onto your commute. And so you sort of like I find it a very nice way to interact with information where I still get to do my own thinking. Often when we get stuck at the desk, we might get stuck in our head a little bit as well. When we're on the way, ideas need a bit of movement sometimes. They need a little bit of fresh air. So taking it with you can be really, really powerful.
We've got a couple of
And
questions about whether NotebookLM stores what I've uploaded and we use it to train, or is it kept private? And also a
uh,
comment about will NotebookLM still hallucinate even though it's just using the data we've given it?
so far, the last time I checked, NotebookLM does not steal your data. That's still isolated. The second one is any AI can hallucinate at any given point in time. Always assume at least one thing in anything AI gives you is wrong. Like as good as the models get, as much safeguards you have, something will be wrong. So don't use NotebookLM to upload all your sources and then have it write your piece of work for you. But use NotebookLM to maybe find the right kind of things. It's like, oh, I think these two papers have really interesting tension. Now give me a few bits of where they are actually are in tension. And because it sources everything, it gives you little footnotes for every claim it makes. You can then be like verify, and it's like, does it actually say that? And if it does say that, it'll give you the page number and you can cite it. So I would use it that way rather than having it do the work for you. And then yeah, it does fancy things like it does videos as well. And you will see it looks quite polished and watch your ears. Like I think it's a little bit loud. But it does start to fall apart at some point. Again, these things they're really nice as a quick little like brainstorm as a something to point me into the right direction, but
An
yeah, you'll
advanced
see
tool
why.
into a capability-destroying trap. When you hit publish on a post where every word was chosen by an algorithm, a subtle disconnect forms. You own the byline, but you don't fully own the ideas. This creates a private tension, a need to hide the process, that eventually scales into organizational silence. Research
Look, and so on. I'm going to spare you the rest, but it's like it is nice and it does all these things and it's got like each frame individually is kind of good,
I've
sort
created
of.
some great infographics on here. When like Bartishire Festival, which I ran a couple of weeks ago, I put a lot of data in here and created some really cool infographics. They were fun.
Yeah, I think it's
They're
a really fun way to explore data. Sometimes it will give you something good out. I think the thing because there's not that much control over it.
mm.
It's a bit of a gamble. Like it can be like, oh, this actually worked out fantastic. I'm going to use this, and sometimes like, it's just. But then when it's not quite right, that might get you enough to be like, well, actually, but I know what's right now. And then either you can reprompt, you can try it again, or you might just go and do it yourself.
it's a good thinking tool.
It's a
Yeah,
very good
exactly.
way to sort of make you think, visualize ideas really quickly, be like, oh, I have
Yeah.
this thing. Which leads me to the very last one. AI is very good at making prototypes. And you're going to have a whole session on prototyping, so I'm going to keep it really short. But particularly when it's about complex things, it can be quite nice to have a little thing you can play around with. And when you work with other people, it's like, oh, interact with this, see how things change when you change things. So I ask it to do a little assessment tool, a little Likert scale-y thing to for people to do a self-assessment of like where they stand with AI, and then maybe give them a little bit of a read on like not what we're doing wrong, because that's not how my research worked, but it's like how they might think about using AI a little bit more. And it made this thing in one shot. It's a beautiful little app that it made where I can do my little scoring. But then it also did a lot of weird things. Like it showed the titles, so people are already primed to maybe say yes to certain things or no to other things. And it sort of repeated a lot of the scoring. So just seeing that in right away, like, so made me think, I was like, well, actually, this was not the tool I wanted. I actually wanted something different. So rather than spending a lot of time setting up a Qualtrics and doing a whole big thing, I had a very quick test of something, and I found really nice things. And as in, a lot of people will be using AI in a very relational way, but also feel very dependent on it. It's like that is the thing we're actually living with. It's not an either or. And it made me then think about, well, actually, like, how do we sit with that paradox? How do we deal with that? So having a quick little app to play with, a quick little interface where we make data accessible has become incredibly easy to do when we prompt AI to do it for us. And you'll have a full session on like figuring out how to do that. But I think that's another really nice way to start to think about communicating our research in a different way.
I like the fact you're giving us a teaser for future sessions. You're so good.
Well, we try. Great. So I think those are sort of the three steps I would be thinking about when it comes to science communication, but also like you can probably do it in most things, in most workflows. Express what you want and have AI work with you in doing it, translating it, figuring out, great, how do we go from everything to this one piece, this one audience, and then making it tangible using AI to maybe help you illustrate something or just try something before you commit to doing it the hard way. Maybe pick one, try it, and then remember, you still want to think yourself. You still want to do your own thing. Keep the parts that are fun, you want to keep to yourself. And it's very easy, I've done it before, to give all the fun things to AI as well. And they get really frustrated that it doesn't do it the right way.
I like you've all got homework. I'm loving it. Not on that. Jonas, thank you so much. We're running out of time, so we're gonna have, if there's any final questions, but we will be sharing this recording and we'll be sharing the slides. So anything you have from that, but that was a great start to our series. So thank you all, and I hope to see you next week. Oh, QR code, right, hold on a sec. Let me find that link again.
Yeah,
There we go. There's the link for the microcredits. And the sun's come out for us now.
Yeah, and if you want the prompts, I put a little handout link in the chat as well. It's not very pretty, I had to rush, but it has all the prompts out there if you want to have a little play.